Phil Bennett, 40-plus years coaching college football, joins us on Mondays in the 5 o'clock hour. Coach, thank you very much, with Paul Craig and David Smoke.
Hey, guys.
Hey, man. How you doing?
I'm good.
Doing good?
Feeling good. Yeah, just enjoy this little bit of cooler weather after a rain.
So you have been at Arizona State. You have been elsewhere. What are your thoughts about what, and you know how that ended with Herm Edwards. What are your thoughts about what Kenny Dillingham has done?
I think he's done a really good job. Obviously, you know, they weren't expected to do much. I'm pretty close and been a mentor to Brian Ward, their defensive coordinator. And I actually talked to him today, and I talk to him occasionally, and I just told him they're a fun team to watch. Their little back, Scatterboo, he's a blast. I mean, if you don't wrap up and really gang tackle him, he will make you look silly. They're a real football team.
Phil, do you think that, because you were there and you know it well, they were doing less with more available to them in Arizona State than most, given the campus and all the great things they have going on? They just, in a lot of sports, they weren't hitting there, especially football. Do you think that the move to the Big 12 made them have to look at who they really are? And then you also have, you hire a coach who's one of the up-and-coming guys in Kenny Dillingham, and it just kind of intersects at the right time.
Kenny was, he's a native of the Valley. Kenny knew the things that needed to be done. I mean, I listened to him at his press conference, and everything that he talked about were things that I said, yes. I think he got a really good staff. I think after a year, he made a tough decision, and he hired Marcus Arroyo as his offensive coordinator. And I think that with having Brian Ward and Marcus, I really think he pushed some good buttons there.
Coach, Arizona State is now in the mix with 2 weeks to play because of the BYU loss at home to Kansas. Kansas, a team that was just suffering a lot of close defeats early on in the season, but has now been able to flip that and are winning some games. What maybe jumped out to you from that contest? And just, I guess, on either side, whichever interests you more, BYU losing that first game or Kansas being on this little bit of a run right here?
I've watched BYU through the years, Craig, and I've never thought now, don't get me wrong, I respected them for winning the games, but they never won with any what you would call style points.
Right.
You wouldn't say, "Oh man, I'm scared to play them because of this, and this." Now they did, which is a tribute to them and their coaches. They did a great job of playing together. I still remember vividly the SMU game. SMU had 5 opportunities to win the game and just couldn't win the game. I didn't feel they were a playoff caliber team. And I felt like I really did. I told a friend of mine, I believe Kansas these last 2 or 3 weeks are going to spoil some seasons for some people. I think the quarterback's playing better. I think Jeff's got them playing better. They're playing better defense. I wouldn't be surprised, and I think Saturday night there in the stadium, I think Arizona State's going to have a chance to get notched up on them.
Tell us from your perspective. I lived in Tempe, but I was 7 years old. And I know all about what Frank Cush had there and how good they were. And then, of course, the Jake Plummer team in, 1996 or so, 7?
Right, it was 96, yeah.
What's it like there, the fan base? It sometimes overlooked. Is it passionate? Who are they?
They are passionate. They really are. When I went there, the year before I got there, Todd had his only losing season, and we had a lot of work to do defensively. We got it back together, and I remember vividly we beat Oregon when they were in the top 10. We beat Washington when they're in the top 5 there, and they were good fans. They were excited about their football team. And like I said, I think Kenny's, with the expectations not being high, I think he's got a lot of people there that are pulling for the team. They redid the stadium. I really think they have a lot going on right now. I'm not sure that the Pac-12 was always an issue with a lot of things. One of the things I know their coaching staff feels like this. Now that they're in the Big 12, they are they're a force in Texas recruiting. They're a force in Oklahoma. They're a force in Louisiana. They are playing that up, and I think it's a smart thing to do.
Phil Bennett with us, Mondays in the 5 o'clock hour on 365 Sports.
Okay, Phil, it looks like there's going to be 4 teams from the SEC in the playoff. How do you determine who those best 4 teams are?
I think the committee has a tough job. If I am picking right now of the top 4 teams, Alabama, you've got to, I think Texas right now has to be in there, and I don't know who the 4th team is right now. I mean, if A&M beats Texas, Auburn beats Texas, then obviously it's going to be them. I don't see Tennessee as being a playoff caliber team. I never have for some reason. I just haven't. What you guys thought?
Look, if A&M earns their way in, obviously they're going to be there. Beat Texas, go to the SEC title game. We'll see what happens there. But, I think Texas has proven, like, their schedule's not great, but that's not their fault. Like, it's not their fault that Michigan wasn't as good or, Florida's average or whatever, but they still have proven out to keep winning games. I don't know how you can keep Georgia out. It's just so strange, especially since, a lot of these teams haven't played each other, or the losses are like for Ole Miss or to Kentucky and LSU, 2 teams that aren't ranked, but still they've got the win over Georgia. It gets really confusing.
I think that one of the things, I think you look at A&M. If they win out, I think they're going to get in. But what's going to hurt them if they lose, say they lose to Auburn and beat Texas, what's going to hurt them is their 2 signature losses or wins, aren't that big anymore, LSU and Missouri, because both of them have sort of hit the skids. And I don't know with the committee how that will play out. I don't see Ole Miss as being a playoff team. I'm a little bit skewed because I watched the Kentucky game and I thought Kentucky, when they were healthy, dominated Ole Miss. Now, obviously, if they went out, then, I left them out of the picture, but they could be in it. I think they're probably a better team than Tennessee is.
Coach, Indiana's been one of the great stories, 10-0, top 5. They're right there in that playoff and conference mix, but they travel to Columbus, Ohio this weekend to take on the Buckeyes. You have any thoughts on that particular challenge for them?
I know quite a few of the people. Kurt Cignetti's brother was our offensive coordinator when I was at Pitt. Their offensive coordinator and their co-coordinator were Tino Sinceri, who was our quarterback, and our wide receiver. So I know, and I watch them with great interest. I've followed them and what Kurt has become quite. I sent him a text one day. He's not only hot coaching, he's somewhat of a comedian. He's finally getting that light shined on him, and he's enjoying it. But I will tell you, they've been fun to watch. I thought the Michigan game really showed something. Michigan stayed with them, plugged with them. The game got close. They found a way to win. It's going to be an interesting game here. Ohio State is obviously loaded. Howard is starting to play better at quarterback. It will be interesting to see how that game comes out. I think Indiana, with everything that's happened, they feel like they could go in there and win. I know this. One of my favorite wins when I was at Purdue, John Cooper was the coach there, was winning in the horseshoe. And we did it in a time very much like this game. We were up and coming, and we beat a very good team. And Indiana is capable of doing that.
What are your thoughts on now that Baylor has made it to a bowl, and we know, Phil, it has been touch and go for a couple of years, and how this staff, with what Spavital's done on offense, Sawyer Robertson is a guy that someone on staff told me that the players would run through a wall with. You discussed that earlier, and how they didn't panic, even though at 2-4 it looked like everybody else did.
Do you remember what I said at that time when everything was going bad? The Colorado last play, the Hail Mary. These coaches should get tremendous, and Dave, the head coach, all the assistants should get tremendous credit for how they have kept that team together and just step by step stayed focused on the game at hand and just one at a time. They've got them back together and said, hey, and if you just start stacking these wins, when it's over, you're going to look around and say, wow, we accomplished something. Now, you always want to go back and say, oh, man, I wish I could have that BYU game or that Colorado game back. But they didn't do that. They said, you know what? It's from this point on. And I tell you, Jake has got he knows what Sawyer can do now, and he's using him great. Jackson is he's averaging 6.5 yards a carry. Pendergrass is averaging over 6 yards a carry. Defensively, they're not dominant, but yet they're feeding off the offense. They're getting crucial stops, crucial takeaways. You go to Morgantown, and the only negative that we had Saturday was we had too many penalty yards. Probably cost us a couple of points. But, you're 70% on third down, where they're under 40% or 20%. You have no turnovers, and you get turnovers. One of them that led to stretching the lead out. I think that this team is just feeding off each other. I think there's a very good vibe, and I think it starts with the coaching staff. I think that these guys are to be complimented and just really have done an outstanding job. And Jake has taken him, the quarterback, who I think has made everybody better, and this has become a fun thing to watch.
Tom Herman just got let go at FAU, Phil, and then they replaced him with a guy he just fired a week ago. Have you ever heard of anything like that?
I've never heard of it. Am I right? Is this Tom's second year?
Yes. 6-16 was his record. Yeah.
Wow. There had to be underlying issues. I don't know. I don't know what they are, but there had to be some underlying issues.
Well, and one of the things is that, again, he fired the defensive coordinator. For them to bring him back as the interim, isn't that like savage, as somebody brought up earlier today?
Absolutely. That's absolutely. There's something going on. And, for some reason that I never thought, I followed him a little bit because of Tom. They have never been able to click on either side of the ball. They've been poor on both sides of the ball.
Coach, what do you think about just sort of where he is in his career? Had the big opportunity at Texas. We know how that went. Gets the little bit of a taste in the NFL to kind of span, the timing in college, and then FAU, and this doesn't work out. Just sort of knowing the journey of coaches, what's next, you think?
Craig, you stay alive. You can ask. I tell coaches, I tell my young son. By the way, I watched the Incarnate Word win the Southland Conference, Smokey in SFA last week. But I tell him, you can't coach scared. You can't run scared in this business. With the social media, Craig, and instant news everywhere, you have to be very thick-skinned, and you've got to have a plan. You've got to execute it. And when you do fail, you've got to push on. You've got to press on. And Tom Herman's a good guy. He really is. I don't know what happened down there, but he will put. If he wants to continue, coach, he'll get back in the race, and he'll find another job, and he'll do better. And I just feel like that for whatever reason, that situation wasn't meant to be.
How do you not lose your confidence, or do you all the time in that business?
Well, I I think you know, it's funny when Art hired me. I told you this. He sat there and I said, Art, you don't care about defense. I'll never forget this. We were in Birmingham and I've told you this story. I said, you don't give a shit about defense. I'm not going to work for you. And he started laughing. He goes, that's why I came here, Bennett. He said, you beat us at SMU with guys not as good. He said, and you think you're so good, you can do it with this offense. And you sort of got to call it a fake ego or what, saying, hey, you know what? But you better have belief in yourself. Because kids today, you know, they can see through it. And I go to these coaches at Baylor right now. They had faith in what they were doing. The kids believed it, and they got back on track after everything being off track, everything negative, and they stayed the course. And the more you watch this, I hope it does turn out like 2012, because it could mean some great things for these guys in the future.
Yeah, and, you know, they finally went to the portal. They've got this tight end who was at Ole Miss, and other players that they brought in. The left tackle that they moved, the left tackle, Fugar, has, like, changed everything up there too. As a defensive guy, when you have a left tackle that can, like, do all of what you need him to do, how much does that help the rest of the offensive line, even though there's 4 other players?
You have no idea how it helps everybody. It helps running backs in protection. It helps centers. It helps when you have a guy, you can say, hey, we can count on this dude. That he can take their field rush. You know, that's big. It really is. And when you get everybody thinks because you have, you know, football is the least practiced sport of all college sports. You get the fewest amount of time with them. And sometimes it takes a little bit, you know, you take quarterback, left tackle, running back. It takes some things, guys to get healthy, guys to mature, to get the right connection. And I think when you're going to, trust me, when you go into Morgantown and score 49 points, you're doing something.
Yeah, this program, they've beaten Tech on the road. They also just beat West Virginia on the road where they had never won before. They snapped that boogeyman with TCU, right? I mean, it seems like they kind of have a little bit of like, we don't care about the history of this program.
Belief. Just call it what it is. It's belief.
Yep.
They believe in what they're doing, and it's happening for them. And you know what? We all, you know, want to be, you know, can they do it? But they stayed the course.
Yep.
They did exactly like we talked about. They didn't get outside the realms of you know, what if this, what if, they just said, hey, if we keep pressing, the number one thing they did, let's all be honest, they got the right quarterback in there.
Yeah.
And they saw what he could do, and Jake started taking advantage of it. And then I don't care what anyone says. That gives life to everybody.
Phil, thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Phil Bennett, weathering the rain in that beautiful outdoor kitchen that he has with us.